Welcome to Hairblazers, the podcast where we empower you to disrupt the beauty industry, starting with your chair and your salon. You can focus on running your business and tune in here to find out how we keep moving forward.
Before we introduce our guest today, here are 3 quick tips to build a community online. First, engage, and engage again. The best way to build an audience that engages with you is by going out and engaging with them first. Second, be real, not perfect. People relate to things that are human, our mistakes, our challenges, and how we overcame them. Those things are what connects everybody. And lastly, don't lead by selling. Even if your end goal is to monetize, your community should always be the first priority.
Today, we have the fortunate pleasure to welcome Gerard Scarpaci to the podcast, co-founder of Hairbrained, craft hairdresser, and unbelievable educator. Gerard, welcome to Hairblazers. Appreciate you being here.
That's great to be here with you.
Thank you so much. First time in Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yeah, I figured that out. I wasn't sure. I've been, for over 25 years coming to Canada on and off to do education. And I wasn't sure if I'd been here before, but I think after 3 days, I've decided I haven't been here. And I'm glad that it's the summer and not the winter.
For sure. That I'll agree with you on. Quick take on Winnipeg, enjoying the city?
Yeah, it's great. Hairdressing is alive and well here. You've got a great staff, well-trained. The facilities are beautiful, your salons, your schools.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's been a great trip for me.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, if you don't know Gerard, just to give us a little bit of context, tell us a little bit about Hairbrained, the creation of Hairbrained, where that came from and why you kind of got into it.
Yeah, Hairbrained was born out of Randy Taylor and my desire to help hairdressers connect to each other. It's something that we'd always done in our professional and personal lives. All my friends were hairdressers. I've been a hairdresser since I'm a teenager. And, we wanted to be able to take that special experience and help people to have it digitally, that you could stay connected, you could answer questions, you could pose questions, you could just feel like you're part of a greater community. And, in the mid 2000s, that was when that was born, and we just jumped on top of it for hairdressers.
That's amazing. Yeah. And obviously it's evolved a lot over the years. At what point in time did you recognize that this was going from more than just a passion project to something that was going to be a game changer and actually have a significant impact on the industry?
I came up in the industry like in the US thinking, there's about 1 million licensed hairdressers. And in my mind, like 10,000 of that million were like A+ hairdressers, that they love the craft, that they were devoted to it, not judging the rest, but just saying like, this is my tribe, these 10,000. And when we first launched hairbrain.me, it was before there was even an Instagram. So we had our own platform. And I thought to myself, if this ever got to 10,000, then maybe that's that 10,000 people, that's that tribe. And, within less than a year, we had like 10,000 people using that original platform, even before we were kind of really known on social media. So that's when I was like, this has legs.
Yeah. That must have been a really cool moment in time. When we're talking Hairbrained, we're talking community. And community means being engaged. It's not just delivering information, it's actually interacting with others. So what was the strategy behind that to create that digital platform where people could be engaged?
Particularly at this time in the late early 2000s into the teens, there was still a lot of gatekeeping in the industry. For better or worse, we could talk all about that because I think we need some gatekeeping to return, actually. Yeah. But at that time, it felt like it was really like a boot on the neck of the independent hairdresser or the hairdresser who just wanted to express themselves. So by opening the doors and saying, hey, you can post it here yourself, you can get the attention. And if it starts to get the likes, the comments, catches people's eyes, then we'll put it out in our email blast. And at that time, then we would start to put it on social media. Instagram was brand new. We started when it started in 2011. So we were taking things from our platform that were doing well and putting them up on Instagram. So it was like back to the question, build the audience by helping the audience build themselves.
That's amazing. Yeah. And that's a very interesting comment. A lot of the industry was, I don't know if protected is the right word, but there were gatekeepers for sure. Then we broke that down. You made the comment, maybe we need a little bit of that back. Where are we starting to see that?
Just like anything, whether it be politics, sports, hairdressing, whatever, things swing like in a pendulum. And I think we were at a point where it was the same 5 companies, the same 10 hairdressers, And they were on every magazine back in the day when there was trade magazines and they were still relevant. And, we needed a little bit more openness. And now it's just gotten to the point where in some respects, it's so open that I think sometimes the things that get a lot of attention aren't necessarily the best. So originally it was like, there's some really good stuff that people aren't seeing. So let's let people see it. Okay, and then we experience that. And then it keeps going where it's like, and I'm not even just talking about hairdressing, just the world in general. Someone really knows how to work the algorithm. But at the end, the whole thing doesn't really deliver much value. So they're just working the program. And that's when you need some gatekeepers to go like, hey, that is not worth your time.
That's a great point. Yeah. Great point. I want to get a little more into Hairbrained here. Company is how old now?
So as a company, it started in 2009 as a project in development, and as a community, we probably started around 2005.
And if I had to guess, there would have been a significant amount of employees in this company. And
you would have guessed wrong.
I did guess wrong, and I was completely blown away by this. And I've asked some of my team, how many people do you think are involved in Hairbrained? How many employees do you think it has? And the minimum number was 20. Wow. And truth is it's 6, including yourself.
Yeah, let me double check that.
Okay.
We do use freelance contractors for certain things, even certain marketing things and certain ad programming. But like employees that receive checks is 6.
That's amazing. Yeah. Amazing feat. Congratulations. Because to build something this big with 6 core people is truly a feat. Very easy to say there's just too much, or I'm too busy, or I don't have time to do that. You have multiple roles within the company, and one of the roles is still being a craft hairstylist and working behind the chair. And I believe you were saying it's about a week per month, or roughly within that. So you're working behind the chair, you're giving yourself to your guests, yet you still find ways to accomplish all the things you want to accomplish with Hairbrained. I think this is really great information for salon owners or people who want to become salon owners, because there's so many moving parts. How do you manage your time? How do you put that all together and still be present for your guests, and obviously still have a life for yourself?
I think there is a lot of time in the day. I think when we say there isn't enough time, we have to look at the things that we do. Like, I don't really watch junk TV ever. The only time I watch anything, I fly a lot. So I never work when I fly unless it's a necessity. That's the only time I watch like programs or movies. The rest of the time, to me, we wake up early. I get up around 5 every day. I spend some quality time with my dog. And then basically from like 7 till 3 in the afternoon, I just task list and I do, direct call. I'm a big Post-it guy, so I have a wall with Post-its, and every Post-it is like a thought or something that needs to be accomplished, and it stays there until it's done. If I don't do anything about it for 2 weeks, it must not be that important to the business. So then I really have to rethink it and either throw it out or say I'm just, being lazy.
Great perspective.
Or I have to dive into it. But I have like literally right next to my desk a wall with like any given time, like 25 Post-its. Seems to be about the max of things that your brain can handle. And they might relate to marketing. They might relate to the brands that we work with. They might relate to ordering supplies from Japan. And for some reason, like the priority things always rise to the top. And then I do have a sense of urgency about things. So I guess that's the key. It's like you have like this big box of all these things you need to get accomplished, and you're constantly looking at them.
No, I think it's great to have that self-awareness too, to know what you've put up on the board. Is it important? Mm-hmm. Should I be accomplished? Does it need to change? And also understanding on where you're going to put your time in. And when you put your time in, you go hard and get those things done. And then find time for yourself, of course, as well too. I think that's incredibly important. Would love to talk a lot about the success of Hairbrained, but I think what our listeners can really appreciate is hearing some of the challenges that you had. First and foremost, I guess, what's your take? What's your perspective on mistakes and failure in business? I think a lot of people think it's something that they need to avoid. Myself personally, I think it's just part of the process. What is your take on
training? It's training. I mean, people that are afraid to fail, they just never get anywhere. It's how you learn. I mean, you try something. Failure is not fatal has always been, something that we believed. We've had different people work with us at the company that did feel failure was fatal because they're perhaps very, very concerned about how they're being judged by others, by whether that's a business or other hairdressers or other media or other communities. I really don't give a shit how anybody thinks of me or judges me. So once you eliminate that, then you're not afraid to fail, because, it's not like I'm going to die if Hairbrain does an event and it doesn't go off, or we do a podcast and it's not popular. Okay, it's really not the end of the world. And if there's someone out there that's judging me so harshly about it, I don't really want them in my world anyway.
Yeah.
So
give us an example of one of those failures, maybe early on in Hairbrain, as recent.
I can give you a very recent one. I mean, so, the beginning of this year, we planned on doing 2 teach-ins. That's our live event. It's like a showcase event. We usually do them at trade shows. The trade show, we partner with them. We did one in Anaheim at Anaheim Premiere. Beautiful room. Worked really hard to fill the room. Over 400 hairdressers. Everything went off beautifully. Then 2 weeks later was going to rinse and repeat that in Chicago. Theoretically, everything should have been just as perfect. Then when it came time to it, we had over 400 RSVPs, but only 100 of them showed up. So for me, this was an absolute failure for a live event that I have great artists at, where I'm thinking, you need at least 300 to 400 people in the room for the energy. So now I've got only 100 people in the room. It's okay, just like anything, you feel bad for a day, and then you have to say, well, what did I do? What could I have done differently? What could I do better the next time? And, was it the right location? Was it the right room? Was it the right show to partner with? Did we promote it right? Did we get the directions out right? That's an example. We're all going to fail, and it's okay to feel bad for 24 hours. I just watched the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary on Netflix, which I found very inspiring. He's got so many ways of thinking about things like that. You fail, you lay in bed, you feel bad, but then you get up and you think, how can I be useful? He kept saying that, how can I be useful? And it just clicked for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where, I think that's where a lot of people get it wrong, is I think they just have to be right all the time, or get it right.
Yeah,
or have to portray good luck, right?
Yeah.
And you must actually, as a world-class educator, a global educator, you must see this a lot when you're teaching too.
Mm-hmm.
How people just get caught up.
I think it's an excuse, to be honest with you. I think it's a shield that people use to not try anything or challenge themselves, or that's in my experience. You hear it all the time too. I was just on another podcast about finance with hairdressers, and there's this typical thing hairdressers say I'm not good with math, and I'm like, listen, we're not asking you to do calculus. It's 50 minus 25. And you did that 3 times. That's the math that you need to understand as a hairdresser. So you're just making an excuse to not do the work. And I think a lot of times that's what it is. Oh, I'm afraid to fail, or I'm not good at this. Get over it.
It's easy to default to that.
Get over it.
Sure. Get over it. Good point. Very good point. So Hairbrain, obviously all about community. Yourself, you're all about community. I had the pleasure, to talk to you a little bit about your path, and community just seems to have been something that you surround yourself with and very passionate about. And we're seeing this today, that a lot of people are trying to build communities within their business, within their own personal network, social networks. What do you think are some of the biggest challenges, or what do you think some of the, easy mistakes are to make when building community?
Just like anything, it has to start off with a core group of people that really do have a connection. At least that's how it was for us. It was so we have this digital property where people can connect digitally. The first people that we wanted to get there were people that we knew in real life, because then it felt more authentic. It was we weren't thinking, who's our customer, who's this, who's that, because a lot of times, community just means customer. It's a new word for customer. But for us, it really was about, I've worked with, I'm just going to say at the time, there was 100 people in my mind that I'm wow, I haven't seen, whoever it might be, Robert Cromeans or Antoinette Bienders in 6 months. So I would say that first 1,000 people that were on our original platform before we even began to become Hairbrain on social media, most of them knew each other, in one way or another. So I think if you're going to start a community, it should be authentic. It should start off with people that kind of know each other and have a very common thread that runs through them. It doesn't mean that they're best friends and family, but there's a common thread. And then you have to kind of give it room to grow, because then those people have to bring in their people, and then those people have to bring in their people. And again, it's just that back and forth constantly of finding the middle balance.
Yeah, I think that it's exactly like you said, needs to be authentic. If we're looking at making it, or if your goal is to make it transactional afterwards, I think you'll lose the whole point of community,
Yeah.
building relationships,
Hmm.
and having that space, being able to create that space where people can come in,
Yeah.
not just people you invite,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
people
when we
feel safe to come in.
originally started, we had no thought about it being transactional or being an actual business. Number one, I'm an educator. Randy's an educator. We want to get ahead as educators. We want more recognition. We want people to book us more. So we thought this is a great way to do that. If people are linked up together, originally thought, well, this is just an easy way for someone to send me a message and say, hey, I'd love you to come into my salon. So it was transactional, but not in the other way of like working as an influencer, working as a tool distributor, working as an event promoter. So it did start in a very authentic way. It was just really about connecting hairdressers and supporting education.
I love that. I love how that you recognized that and you actually accepted it. It was okay for it to become a natural business. It didn't just
Mhm.
have to be a community. It could be both.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, we were resistant for a while in the beginning, and we still always think, is this something that's going to create value for the hairdresser, or is it just putting money in Hairbrain's pockets? Because ultimately, if it's just about us making money and it doesn't bring value to the hairdresser or the brands that we work with, who also work with hairdressers, then it's probably not good for the long term. It's just a short term money grab.
I
Yeah.
think that's exactly, you're thinking of the end consumer, and the end
Mhm.
consumer
Mhm.
is looking to consume community or be a part of community. And I think that you could apply that to just business in general. When you're
Mhm.
looking at your end consumer, it is what are they looking for? What do they want? How do I add value to that? And then find a way to be profitable off of
Mhm.
it. What do you see are the next steps for Hairbrain? What do you see in the near future or distant future for Hairbrain? Where do you think it's going?
Yeah, I mean, in the past few weeks, I've had this real vision about um, awards and competitions, and specifically United States, which is where I live and where we're mostly based. And I, I think that most of the established awards, even the ones that we've established, the Hairbrain Video Awards, NAHA, the One Shot Awards, all this, I don't really think they do much for people's career. And don't get me wrong, I think that they're wonderful, but they're based on one piece of content being judged and saying, okay, winner, 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 chicken dinner, and here's the thing. And it's a great event. And again, even ours, the Hairbrain Video Awards, it's the same. But I've been reading about the James Beard Foundation, which works in the culinary industry, chefs. And I've always heard this, oh, James Beard award winning chef, or this restaurant has a James Beard. And for the first time, I don't know, somehow it slammed right in front of my face. I think I heard it on a podcast of what it actually is. James Beard was a man in the 50s and the 60s who was an American chef who felt like American chefery or cookery didn't have the prestige and the attention that it deserved. So he made it like his life's work. And I kind of feel like for us at Hairbrain, although we're international, we really are about promoting and representing the American hairdresser and our Canadian friends as well.
Thank you.
What they did with this James Beard Foundation after he passed away is they started doing a lot of things like what Hairbrain has done, community things, education, free things. And then eventually they decided that they wanted to have like awards, the James Beard Awards. And literally, if a young chef, even an old chef, wins a James Beard Award as like Chef of the Year, it's always transformational in their career. Like, number one, if their restaurant wasn't maybe that known before, it becomes known overnight, because anyone that understands like fine dining will look to see, oh my God, there was a James Beard winner here in Winnipeg. Oh, there's a James Beard winner. All of a sudden the business will double, triple. And again, I don't know. I do know you win an HVA award, your business doesn't double or
Right.
triple, right?
Right.
So, or I don't know about the other awards, but I assume a NAHA or a One Shot Award or
Very
whatever, Contessa.
Yeah.
I don't know if that doubles or triples your business. So I'm thinking that's the kind of award that hairdressers need. So it's a tie-in with consumer marketing, consumer press, and professionals, bringing them together so that someone wins. I don't know what we're going to call it. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to create it, but I want to. Someone's going to win the da-da-da award in hairdressing, and all of a sudden there's going to be a line out the door in front of their salon because they're now known as that region's best hairdresser for a period of time. And then what goes into determining the best hairdresser, the best salon, like if you look at the James Beard Foundation, it's pretty deep. They have a whole committee in that territory. They have to go there and eat several times, like secretly. They do all this stuff as opposed to like, oh, this is a really pretty picture. It's prettier than that one. You're the winner. Nothing wrong with that, but you can see it's pretty shallow.
Yeah.
As opposed to like completely evaluating someone's skill as a hairdresser. And compliments to James Beard Award, they've put a whole level of ethical standards in there as well, because the culinary industry is really known as a place that was terrible ethically in terms of sexual harassment and people being underpaid and overworked. So they were like, okay, well, we got to change this now too, because it's aware. So you can't win an award unless you meet the ethical standards too. So it's like a really important thing. So what's my dream for the next thing that we do is to create kind of like the James Beard Awards of the professional hair industry in North America.
That's really cool. And something I really appreciate about that is, I'm asking the question, what's next for Hairbrain? And you could probably list off 100 different things. Mm-hmm. And the one that stands out to you the most, and one that sounds like it's going to be a passion project, is the one that's giving back to the hairstylist.
If it doesn't start there, it'll never work for us. If it doesn't create value for hairdressers, then it'll never be successful for us, never. And it'll actually be our demise. I mean, anytime in the past where we've done things, we also work with brands, complete transparency. Before there was such a thing as an influencer, we already had contracts with 10, 15, 20 brands going back to like 2011. But that's helping them take the things that they have of value and putting them in front of our audience and saying, here's some cool stuff you might want to look at. Anytime where we took something that maybe didn't have value and said, well, we got to show this to people, it would always be like, whoa, that's not good.
Didn't feel right.
It's got to start and end with the hairdresser and creating value for them.
Where does that profound passion come from?
I don't know. I think it's, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it to the best that you can. I mean, I've always said, I could be two people. I could just sit on a beach, with enough money to eat lunch and get it suntan and swim and play with a dog, or I could choose something and just do the most I possibly can. There's no in between for me. It's not, I can't see myself as just like a 9 to 5, like punch in, forget about work. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's hard to not sound judgmental. I get that a lot. I'm not judging. I think that's great for certain people, but it's not for me. So for me, it's either switched off or switched on.
Yeah.
And I just happened to come into hairdressing when I was 18 and say, I'm going to switch on for this, and there's my life.
Amazing. So upcoming events, in-person events for Hairbrain, what do we have on the board?
Yeah, so we've got probably one of our biggest challenges and hopefully biggest successes. We are going to be working in Europe to launch teach-ins at Salon International in London, and then within a week or two having another teach-in in Italy through the kind of sponsorship of K18, which has been a brand that's come on this year to work with us.
That's amazing. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
And locally in the U.S.?
Locally in the U.S., we won't have any more teach-ins this year. We did 2 in the beginning of the year. We will launch the video awards again soon for entries. It usually opens around August. Then the judging happens from December through February, judged by an industry panel. Then the actual party and the awards happen during IBS New York, which is in March. This year, we're looking at partnering with IBS again.
That sounds cool. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Amazing. Where can people find you if they're looking for you?
Yeah, me personally on Instagram at Gerard Scarpaci on Instagram. That'll probably be the best place. Don't try to message me at hairbrained_official because even if I tried, I wouldn't find it. But on my own, I have a small page and people can reach out to me there.
Amazing. Well, thanks for making yourself accessible to everyone. And thank you again so much for doing what you do in our industry. The sense of community that you've built over these years has done tremendous things for us. So thank you so much.
All right.
And thank you for being on the podcast. Really much appreciated.
Congratulations on all your success.
Thank you, my friend.
School.
Thank
awesome.
you. Gerard, thank you so much. Thanks again for listening. Please share with your friends and tune in again next time.